All right, welcome everyone to Sinister 12. This Sinister Sunday, we're going to be talking about a topic called Before the Metal, and that's basically going to involve we were into before metal and some of our favorite non-metal bands, and then hopefully the later half of the stream, we're going to be talking about some of our favorite Christmas themed metal songs or albums, just because 'tis the season. And yeah, so with me in the panel today is Lord Husk from Husk's Evil Empire, and Jessica Scanlon from My Life as a Death Metal Drummer's Wife, and making a special appearance. Hello, making a special appearance as her husband, Lividity. So awesome to have him with us here. So,
thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming, man. So, as I say every stream, if you want to, give us your opinions, thoughts on the topic at hand tonight, to comment in the chat. But also, if you have a question for myself or the panelists, and you really want to get it answered, consider a super chat, which donates a small monetary fund to the channel, helps support the rebellion, and it makes sure that your question helps, or make sure your question gets answered by myself and the panelists. So there's that option. With that said, hope everyone's ready to dig into this topic, and I guess we'll start off with Lord Husk here, if you'll be so kind, and let us know, what were you in before you got into metal?
It was a mixture, actually. I was into bands or artists like Skrillex, Nero, Blunt Eagle, Terminal Choice. God, there's a list. I'm trying to think of them on top of my head right now. Let's just say I was in the mixture between dark wave, electronic, and some sort of rap I used to listen to before I fully got into metal.
Cool. So, what are some dark wave bands or some rap bands that you were into back then?
Dark wave, I don't really remember. That part of my memory disappeared. Rap bands I was into was LL Cool J. I was into Tupac, Ludacris, Ice-T, Ice Cube, all that crap,
Fair enough. So were you into the NWA things or the Eazy-E stuff?
Nah.
No, not into the gangster rap?
Nah, I was not.
Or like R&B and hip-hop then?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
To this day, I still cringe every time I look back and I realize what the shit I used to listen to.
Yeah, hey man, we all got to start somewhere, right? Like we're not we don't fucking Megadeth and Slayer and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So
I was also into post-hardcore. I can give you bands out there: Escape the Fate, Black Veil Brides. I was into Blood on the Dance Floor, My Chemical Romance, all that type of stuff. Which it's not. My Chemical Romance is not post-hardcore, but it was in that emo type of era.
Yeah. I myself was into stuff like that too. Like you said, Falling in Reverse or Escape the Fate, Bullet for My Valentine. I actually do have Bill Bride's first album. The wife got some of their post first album stuff, but yeah, that's stuff that I was into as well. Basically, well, there's another thing too. Before I got into metal, I was really into stuff like Aussie. That was kind of a big guilty pleasure for me back then.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people try Juggalo, so I can understand why that's not everyone's cup of tea. But Yeah, I was kind of huge into that as well. Same with Eminem. I'm amused by the whole ICP versus Eminem rivalry and whatnot.
Oh, that was some funny stuff.
Sorry?
I said that was some funny stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But
rock type of bands too before metal, or?
Yeah, there's a lot of rock bands. I was pretty heavy into like Alice in Chains, Puddle of Mud. I think it's called Hoobstank.
Yep.
Trying to think of on top of my head right now. Like Guns N' Roses and stuff like that, and then I think what kind of got me started is because my brother gave me some CDs. One of them, which was the Hellbilly Deluxe from Rob Zombie. Love that album to this day.
Nice.
I got
Hell yeah.
Cover Your Tracks by Bury Your Dead, which was a great fucking hardcore band. Definitely I had to send some songs that way, and then as you know, Soilwork became like the very first melodic death metal band I listened to.
Yeah. Were you ever into the band Poison Black?
No, actually, I haven't heard of that band until you got mentioned something about it. So no.
Well, if you're into the Sonic Syndicate and that the other band that's like Sonic Syndicate, you'll like. They're, I don't know. They're like it's hard to describe. It's like a softer version of melodic death metal, also kind of like gothic kind of metal as well. But not as heavy as melodic death metal. But like sometimes they got close to some of their like riffs. They're a little bit heavier than hard rock, but they also kind of got lumped in with like the gothic rock or metal stuff too. So I think you'd definitely enjoy them.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to check them out tomorrow after work.
Besides metal, I could see you being into was maybe grunge. Were you ever into grunge?
Yeah, grunge. This was a tongue twister to say Revelation Theory, because they usually either put Rev Theory or Revelation. Yeah.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Theory of a Dead Man. There was Hinder. I mean, shit. There's a fucking lot of rock bands I used to listen to in grunge.
Saliva?
Yeah. I have to say one of my favorite, like, I call them alternative rock kind of, is Puddle of Mud. Because I went to go see them, what was it, 2, 3, 4 years ago, live.
Nice. Did you ever see the documentary about Puddle of Mud called Story of Puddle of Mud?
Nah. I heard that the lead vocalist is having hard times right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind actually seeing that documentary. It seemed like it could be pretty interesting. And once again, for anyone watching, it's called the. Definitely check that out if you're interested, and especially if you're watching this stream, like it says like before the metal. So if you're into this stream, you're gonna be into stuff like rock, grunge, punk, and proto metal. So any other bands that you can think of before we throw it off to Jessica?
There is one electronic band that if anyone is ever interested in, because I still listen to them, it's called Grendel. The song's called I can't even remember. I'll have to send you the link to it. It's a great song.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. So yeah, there's a lot of good bands for sure. Definitely have listened to quite a bit of them before I was into like heavy into metal and stuff. Cool, man. Jessica, now we're turning to you. What did you listen to, or what were you into before the metal?
Well, I invited my husband on to this episode because I thought he'd probably do a lot better than I would, and probably help remind my own geezer ass into some things. But I'm gonna let him go first on that.
right.
And especially the Christmas stuff. He's gonna have to do that stuff, especially. But here, honey, why don't you tell him what sort of stuff you were into, and maybe you can drive me down memory lane through the '80s and all that.
For sure. For me, a lot of my music was coming from like my uncles, even more than my dad or my friends or anybody. So with about 10 years on top of me, they brought me into the classics, and that was like Dio, Rainbow, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, like really classic hard rock crossing over into what metal would be. But even before that, like true classic rock, anything that my dad would have turned me on to would have been like The Doors and Pink Floyd.
Me too, Pink Floyd.
Like really, really old school. So I kind of made my transition when I was starting to listen to music for myself. It was Guns N' Roses, was AC/DC, like really getting a little bit heavier and kind of, it was catchy, but it was ball busting rock. It wasn't just really lame stuff. From there, the natural progression was just looking for heavier and faster in any form that it was. So I was finding like Motorhead before I was finding even Metallica. And then like the whole speed metal thing kind of happened. For me, I was into punk heavily and then started to get into what was becoming speed metal. I kind of overlooked thrash for quite a while because by then I already found uglier and crazier stuff, and it was starting to transition into like the beginning of the death metal. But being a drummer, and especially like playing with bass players, Exploited and GBH, like really catchy, hardcore, aggressive, nasty punk. You know, we grew up with that stuff, your DRIs, your Misfits, and then it started to get a little bit wilder. You know, Misfits AD, Earth AD started to get a little bit away from the catchiness, a little bit into the faster stuff. Dead Kennedys was trying to play fast. Minor Threat. You had a lot of cool stuff happening. So then when my friends were getting into thrash, your Testaments, your Overkills, your Exodus, it seemed polished and it seemed held back, and it seemed like simplified music to do guitar solos over. So my guitar player friends like that, and I kind of skipped straight from punk into your faster speed metals, the beginning of Metallica, Megadeth, and the speed races between them, and then Slayer comes out and kicks everybody's ass, and that was just the really natural progression from there, going into like the original Death and Scream Bloody Gore, Obituary, Slowly We Rot. Once that stuff started coming out, like going back to thrash did not seem heavy or cool at all. And that just pushed the boundaries to where, you know, everything that happened from there was seeking faster, uglier, and crazier still. But to go back to my dad, if I'm not listening to metal, I very well would be listening to blues or reggae or jazz heavily. And you know, like Lord Husk mentioned, you know, sometimes you go see something live that you might not listen to, and they put on a kick-ass show, and I'll watch anything live. I'll check out anything I possibly can live, even if I hate the band. At least I'll give them some respect for what they have to offer. I'll watch a documentary or behind the scenes on anybody.
But a lot of behind the scenes are real. There's some really cool stuff on those behind the scenes, like the Tina Turner ones and Ray Charles. Johnny Cash. I mean, those are really, I mean, they're not metal stories, but when you reflect on like those VH1s, especially, I mean, me and him, we were getting hooked on those because to watch the stories of musicians and watch how interesting as people they are, not just as musicians, it's just fascinating. And me in particular, I was raised in a household of like he was jazz. My grandfather owned a reel-to-reel, and he had a lot of Nina Simone. Like my grandfather loved Nina Simone, but then I was raised on ethnic music too. Every Saturday and Sunday, my grandmother listened to Irish music, and I think that's why I like a lot of folk metal. I mean, I don't know. You were raised on a lot of that stuff too, right, Garrett?
Yeah, traditional Irish music, and that stuff's really fun. It's wild because it's like it's either fast and drunk and happy, or it's too drunk and you want to wrestle your friends, or it's like super sad ballads. There's all the drinking spectrums are covered.
Nice.
How did we turn this into drinking? This is supposed to stick on topic. Like I knew bringing him on here. Go ahead, take your ceremonious drink, because I knew bringing him on here was going to turn into that. But my point is like, yeah, there is a lot of different types of music in our household that we both came from in a similar way, like jazz and blues and ethnic music from our ethnicities. Holding on to different types of music, and I was also raised on like Elton John and David Bowie, which was a lot of wild stuff. Knew some people into that stuff. So I love music. Of course, metal is like my love, my joy. But I do see the appreciation and value in other music and other types of music, and it comes to show like, and you would agree, Garrett, that how we were raised, like, we live in a city where we have a jazz and blues fest, right? And go ahead and speak on that, like the reggae fest and everything.
Yeah, festivals, entire citywide festivals
Like,
dedicated to each genre of music, and
we're not gonna miss out on that.
Yeah, my dad's always been open-minded too. For as much as he showed me and listened to, that I've listened to and checked out, he's also been willing to check out anything that I would show him, from crazy fast technical death metal. He listens to us rehearse, but also like he'll listen to every CD I've ever done with constructive criticism. Like, it's not just noise, because he's also kind of grown up on it too. So even though it's not his cup of tea, he could dissect it and realize, okay, each band is a different band. What are these guys about? What are these guys about? But he's open-minded. He's checked out grindcore and other stuff. I mean, he'll give it a full listen. So out of the same respect, I'll do the same. If he wants to play anything, I'll give it a full listen before I really decide what it's about, if I like it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
fair enough.
And it comes to show a lot of different aspects, things, music that we were brought up outside of metal. As you can see, it was jazz, it was blues, it was, a little reggae even, in their family members listening to music from Europe. My grandfather also, oh my gosh, I have a love for classical music. Not opera, not so much, but I mean, opera I can tolerate more than, most types, but I really do like classical music. And I'm not ashamed to say it, I was raised on that as well.
There's a lot of metal and other hard genres that base a lot of their compositions from early classical music, like Beethoven, Husk, etc.
And a lot of technical death metal bands have also proven that musicians can come from a jazz background and really bring a lot to the table as far as the musicianship, but also speed and technicality.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And, staying a well-rounded musician is not just staying stuck in a rut in one frame of mind. I mean, especially if you're just practicing yourself. I mean, it's good to explore a little bit of this and that, just to get some technique down.
I will admit a guilty pleasure. I was into the first wave of rap, which would have been like Beastie Boys and Eazy-E, Dre, and NWA. I gave that stuff a good listen. There was some really angry, hateful stuff that was going on, and it kind of reminded me of the same kind of attitude metal had, and especially, fuck society as it stands and fuck authority. Like they had the same kind of punk, pushing the boundaries and protesting and speaking their minds, like wearing their hearts on their sleeves, like punk did. Nobody had to question how somebody felt when it was in the lyrics that strongly and executed so strongly.
Yeah,
and then
for sure.
in the early 80s, disco was dying out. Metal was progressing into something different, from hard rock into metal. There was also different types of house music and bands like Africa Bambaataa coming out, which were the originators of hip hop and rap. out on the streets. Something called break dancing was popular back in the day. You would have your what they call the ghetto blaster on your shoulder, and people would break dance, and that was hitting the streets in the 80s, and that in itself sprouted out to become hip hop and rap and house music, and a lot of I would say a lot more house than rap. If you heard the earliest of people doing break dancing and stuff, but a lot of that music came out of a independent setting as well. People used to just house music came out of just taking a bunch of records and throwing them on a bunch of record players, and that's how they were spinning the records. And now we've progressed in different types of rap bands and music, and it's true to see that I'm not ashamed to say that I like different types of stuff from different eras. I like classical, and then I might like some jazz.
Yeah.
I guess that's all I have to say.
That's pretty good. Kind of rundown of kind of what there really was before metal, and it's as someone who was born in 1985, it's kind of hard to think what did people really listen to before like metal really came along, and you really did only have just kind of like the first few kind of like rock bands and hard rock bands, and then besides them, like you maybe just getting punk being introduced to the scene and stuff like that, and maybe like gangster rap, and the punk and the gangster rap progenitors of the like angry young kid type of music trying to rebel against just speaking out against how shitty being poor is and living in an impoverished neighborhood, and dealing with like lack of jobs and the economy being shitty as it was. A lot of good documentaries from the early days kind of document that too, like any of the like CBGB's type of documentaries from the days like kids expressed themselves before like metal and stuff like that came around. And yeah, like I remember hearing from my dad, like the closest thing to metal he had growing up was Black Sabbath and the Doors and Aerosmith and the Rolling Stones, and but that was later in his life too. Like he started becoming like late teenager, early 20s when that stuff started coming around. So yeah, it's interesting to like dig into the past and see what really was out there to even listen to.
Oh, I don't know. So I don't know what you said, Jesse. Were you asking a question? You got cut off.
I was just saying that it's really interesting to dive into the past and see what really there was to listen to back then, before metal even came around.
Oh yeah, definitely. Or a different mix of stuff, back in those days.
It also kind of begs the question, like, what's some of the first death metal that you heard, and what do you consider the transition into death metal? Because I mean, for us, we watched Possessed and Venom kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit past your thrash and your speed, and a little bit uglier, a little bit more raw. Like some of the first death metal records, we were literally into those when they first came out. Grave, Into the Grave, and some of the very early Benediction stuff, early Napalm Death, grindcore and not even death metal at that point.
Yeah, the proto extreme metal and death metal stuff is pretty interesting itself for sure. Like once you kind of got out of your punk and hard rock things that were like just starting to get kind of heavy, like thrash and like proto death metal, and they started adding a little bit like more growlier vocals, a little bit harsher guitar tones, maybe even started experimenting tuning like drop D or C standard and stuff like that. They started like trying to seek out those lower tones to get eviler sounding kind of stuff. And yeah, like Venom and Possessed really were kind of one of the earlier ones to kind of touch on that style going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And from there on, bands took it their own directions. But without those bands, bands like Possessed and Venom, we wouldn't have a lot of bands that we got, but we do. So, and luckily we do. And I'm grateful for that. But definitely thinking about different types of music. I'm pretty sure if you were to ask any of these musicians as well, you would also find stuff in their background like what would you call that stuff from the 60s, like that beatnik stuff? What would you call that? Not like beatnik jazz, but
stock hop?
Yeah, stuff like that. And big band and swing, and the different directions that people could say that came from their background. I'm pretty sure a lot of those guys had traditional music training in their schooling, and a lot of it like big band, coming up in the 1960s. You would find that still in the curriculum in their schools. So for them to get their hands on instruments in the first place was probably in a big band setting.
For sure. And I think we can thank Elvis for quite a lot of cornerstone, turning the page type of music revolution, because Elvis, he took a combination of like country and blues and mixed it, and I think he slowly made it into rock and roll, to what we think we owe a lot to Elvis and his country band influences and his blues guitarist influences.
But for him, it was also about the performance. I mean, the songs were the songs, but the way he performed it and the attitude he brought to it, he delivered a wild performance with a lot of energy, and that's kind of what separated it. Think about a lot of the music you would see in videos from then. People are literally standing in front of a microphone, frozen, a little bit of movement, zero choreography, but no flexibility. They don't even look comfortable. And then Johnny Cash and Elvis come out almost acting like maniacs for that time frame.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely added stage presence into being an artist, or they didn't just, like you said, stand there stiff as a board playing their instrument or sitting on a chair playing an acoustic guitar and not doing too much. He got up, he ran around, he shook his moneymaker, like he even got like censored from the waist down on television because they thought it was too sexual or too wild for TV.
Well, I'm here to tell folks Elvis was more than just a pelvis. Okay, he actually had some musical talent. He wrote those actual songs, and I love the one he wrote about Inglewood, Chicago. Okay, Elvis fucking wrote a song about one of the most dangerous neighborhoods of Chicago, and he just makes it so fucking hilarious. Just FYI.
Yeah.
So
speaking of Elvis, I really want to get his Jailhouse Blues movie on DVD. That was pretty good.
Yeah, not bad for he did better acting than some of those other musical people out there. And you know who else I admire for a lot of their professionalism in music is James Brown. I mean, as crazy as that mother sucker was, first of all, he wrote all his music. He's actually a really talented musician.
Let me say one thing real quick. 3 people that are known to be the most meticulous musicians of all time were James Brown, Prince, and Michael Jackson. These were obviously the singers and the frontmen, but beyond that, they knew the songs, they choreographed the dance moves, they knew every part of everybody's part, orchestrated. James Brown, half the time, if he's saying little things like, gotcha, yeah, he's pointing back at the musicians, calling out their mistakes, and half the time they're getting fined for their mistakes. So he's literally taking money out of their paycheck on stage because they deviated from the recording song. Michael Jackson, he gave some flexibility to his musicians, but it was really about the tempo and the groove and really performing the songs like the record. But Prince has been known to find people for ad-libbing, for making stuff up, for getting away from exactly what the record was note for note. But that goes to show not just the performance, but the deep understanding of the entire orchestra of the song. That's pretty kick-ass.
I really Lord Husk speak again here. Are you with us, bud?
Yeah, I am.
All right, cool. Because your screen froze on my end, so I just double checking. Were they into like hard rock or metal or anything? Were your parents into hard rock or metal?
Well, I think you consider it rock now, but basically, my mom was kind of into Bon Jovi, Journey. Oh God, I don't remember a lot. She was definitely into Elvis Presley because of my grandmother. I kind of got into it as well. My dad, he kind of was into like, I think you would call them rock bands now, but in his time they were metal. Skid Row, there was Motley Crue, Ted Nugent. I probably said his name wrong. There's a band called Cinderella, which is an actual rock band. Something with the Yankees. I forgot what the band was called. I mean, there was a bunch of bands that he listened to, but because of him, I kind of got into Iron Maiden and Motley Crue and Ted Nugent, and that's where basically the second part of my my metal interest began. So,
right, because before we kind of get into metal and stuff like that, it's normally our kind of our journey. It's not like our parents passing on metal to us. So like when we first hear music, it's normally, like I said, through our parents and stuff like that, and they're normally the ones where we kind of hear stuff before metal. So like hard rock or classic music or so yeah, it's kind of neat that your parents were into hard rock and stuff like that, and were able to pass it on to
you. I was my mom actually got me into some country bands like Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson, Tim McGraw, stuff like that. Stuff that I really wish I'd never listened to in my entire life. But no, this is kind of contradicting to me because I hate country, and it's sad because it's true. The only country artist I liked was Garth Brooks. The only country artist.
Right. Did you ever get into Big and Rich?
Yes. Yep.
You got to admit, Johnny Cash was a badass.
Actually, funny thing is, I never listened to Johnny Cash until there was a movie about him. I forgot what the movie was called.
The Line?
Yes, that's when I started getting into him.
Yeah, Walk the Line was, a pretty decent film, gotta say. Like, I'm not into country at all, Well, and I'm not into Joaquin Phoenix at all either. But like for some reason, Walk the Line was a really interesting and really entertaining film. Probably gonna get it on DVD sometime in the future. Same with the Jailhouse Blues or Jailhouse Rock or whatever. But yeah, like metal, Husk.
Metal, as in like metal bands themselves.
Well, just like bands that, you know,
kind of threw me into that.
Huh?
You mean like what threw me into listening to more metal, or how are you gonna word that?
Well, I just mean, did your parents listen to stuff that we would
my dad, not like an excessive, because my dad don't like harsh vocals, which I can understand.
Right.
But basically, I got into Disturbed, which to this day, I don't care what people fucking say about this band, and I stand behind my decision because it is true. Disturbed is a well-known heavy metal hard rock band, not new metal. There has been an actual argument about this, and I straight up told people they are not new metal because they sound nothing like Non-Point, Spine Shake. They sound nothing like it. Like if hard rock was to progress into heavy metal, that's what it sounds like, or just a straight up metal band. I was listening to first song from Disturbed was Stricken, and then the next song was Down with the Sickness. So I was off of 2 albums, and I started listening to that, and I kind of got my dad into it. What did I? Metallica and Megadeth I got from both my dad and my uncle. So
nice.
Scorpions.
So they actually do appreciate some thrash then.
Kind of like a little thrash, but I think they were like into like, my dad was more into like Master of Puppets and stuff like that.
Fair enough. What did you think of the new Disturbed album?
Evolution.
Yeah.
It's, and I'm not gonna lie, it is very iffy because what was it? Immortalized or something? The album before that. There was kind of some songs I liked, and there was those songs like, what the fuck am I listening to? But with that new album, I have to give it like a good listen, because I don't want to say it's a shit album and then be wrong about it, because I've been wrong about stuff like that. But be honest with you, I think it's a 2010 or 2012 release. There's an album called The Lost Children by Disturbed, and I favored that album out all the albums they had.
Yeah, The Lost Children was actually an amazing kind of like compilation from all their B-sides and splits and EPs and stuff like that. Yeah, that was a really good album, actually.
One of my favorite songs, and I have like 5 favorite songs off that album too. One's Hell, the other one's called Parasite, Midlife Crisis, their cover of Living After Midnight. That was a great fucking cover, by the way. Which is kind of weird, because I tell my friends, Judas Priest is a metal band. Disturbed just covered one of their songs. Definitely check that cover out. It is phenomenal. It has, don't get me wrong, Judas Priest is a phenomenal metal band, but I feel like Disturbed put more of that more of that metalness, basically, yeah. And oh god, I can't remember the fucking song now. God damn it.
It's all good, man. But yeah, were you also into punk before you got into metal, or did you get into punk after metal?
I honestly, to be honest with you, like I was into pop punk, like Green Day, some other bands, but there was one Pacific punk band I would not stop listening to, and that was the Misfits. That's why, because I went into the Graves era, and I favored that more than the Danzig era. No offense to anyone, but
right.
But I
No
personally
worries.
prefer Graves because one of my all-time favorite songs. I have two favorite songs from the Misfits, which is basically "Scream" and "Dig Up Her Bones." Watching the music video of "Dig Up Her Bones," Graves had more of the energy and the positivity behind his music video, and I felt like he was more of the era of the Misfits I wanted to listen to. Now, people can disagree with that, but as my cat tried to get into the middle of the conversation. But no, yeah, I straight up stand behind it. I am actually going to buy Michael Graves' personal albums. He has. He does more of the acoustic version rock songs, but you can still tell he's got like that Misfits sound to him.
Yeah, I'll have to check those out. I didn't even know he had like solo albums.
On my dad's going back to the rock side, I was listening to bands like Scorpions, great fucking band. I really need to get more of their albums. Because the first Scorpions album I heard, I was playing Guitar Hero 3, Legends of Rock, which is kind of how I got introduced to Disturbed, Slipknot, fucking what other bands? AFI, stuff like that. It's just great. To be honest with you, basically where I found certain metal bands was through video games. And then down the road, I started playing a game called Brutal Legend, and that's where it kind of expanded my mind up a little bit more. So
Cool, man. Were you ever into the bands like Ramones or Sex Pistols or anything like that?
I've listened to a little Sex Pistols. I was alright with them. Ramones, I really didn't get into.
Sure. Did you not get into this? You weren't really a fan of the earlier stuff, or not a fan of the later stuff, or why didn't you like the Ramones?
I just couldn't get into them. There is one artist, well, it is a band technically, but you guys probably know the name, Billy Idol. He was pretty.
Yeah.
He has some good songs. My mom bought me the Best album, which is Idolize Yourself, Best Hits, and you had White Wedding on there. You had Eyes Without a Face, fucking Shock the System, Speed, and all that stuff. And I think like because he was like what was that, rock punk or something at his time.
Billy Idol, he's just kind of like pop, just regular rock and roll.
He just had that punk attitude about him. Shock the System is when I started seeing more of the punk version of him, which was a great song. Definitely check that out if you guys have not.
Did you ever get into bands like Led Zeppelin or ZZ Top or anything like that?
I got into a little bit like ZZ Top, Led Zeppelin. I tried to listen to recently and can't get into them. My favorite ZZ Top to this day song is between Planet of Women, Legs, and Lagrange.
Oh yeah.
I like Planet of Women because it's got that style to it that I like.
So do you like the Eliminator album by them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good album.
Skid Row, I was kind of big into. I think I kind of went into like more of the heavier Skid Row that became. I don't know who I talked to, but basically, Skid Row's song "Slaves to the Grind" became like more of a heavier metal type of thing.
Yeah.
But from Skid Row, I was listening to songs like 18 in Life and Youth Gone Wild, which was actually my all-time favorite song from them.
And we can't mention for the metal without bringing up Alice Cooper.
Yes, Alice Cooper.
Yeah, definitely.
Alice Cooper. Oh my God! Now you got my fucking mind running now. Crap, man! Now you got me thinking of the bands I actually did listen to. Actually, I got into Alice Cooper from my uncle, and then I got into Meatloaf. There's some other bands too, but my uncle is the one who told me about. Interesting fact, true fact actually. My uncle is the one who told me about Metalocalypse. And there was one night we were talking, and totally going off the subject right now, sorry. But basically, that's how I got into Death Clock, was because of my uncle.
Oh yeah, yeah. Alice Cooper was a huge influence on my my listening journey for sure. Like when I was really, really young, probably about 6 or 7 years old, my and at the time would bust out the Fistful of Alice Cooper album and the School's Out and Welcome to My Nightmare. Just a bunch of all those classic like Alice Cooper albums, and that definitely set me on my stuff like $1 Billion Baby, like Constrictor, Trash. There's so many good, and he does quite a bit of different stuff depending on what album you listen to. Like he even had like a pretty heavy like metal album, Brutal Planet, about 14 or 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you definitely can't mention Cooper. Like dude brought like shock rock to the masses and inspired bands like White Zombie, inspired bands like Ozzy. I think he even inspired them, stuff like that. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, if we're talking about Alice Cooper, the only two songs that probably got me into it more was Poison and Feed My Frankenstein.
Good. What's that? Black Widow song. Steven. That one was a creepy song.
Oh, and I actually forgot one band. It's a classic rock band, though. I used to actually have a poster of it on my door. Aerosmith.
Aerosmith started.
Aerosmith was a really good one. I definitely grew up on some Aerosmith.
They used to be pretty dark. It wasn't always very popular or very pop oriented. Like some of the older stuff, Toys in the Attic, like it was dark, ugly rock.
Yeah, that I can agree on.
And you know about the Aerosmith stuff?
Mm-hmm. Because there was like songs like Janie's Got a Gun and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, there's that darkness right there.
Yeah, definitely. Not always on the lighter stuff.
I will say this though, you mentioned you talked about Alice Cooper, and that's a great example of the theatrics stepping up the game, but the music behind it is still there. The more a band brings a stage show or anything, whether it's the presence, whether it's the theatrics, when they bring something that just captivates you and draws your attention, that's awesome. But the music still has to be there. One band I was never into and I could never get into, my uncles were all Kiss fans. Like Kiss fans are either fanatics or you just don't get it. And I always thought they were a shitty band that wore silly costumes, and I just didn't get it. I still don't get it. To each their own. I will say this, they probably have the most dedicated fans out of anybody out there. But I think my generation, I just kind of skipped past it and couldn't appreciate
Mm-hmm.
it, especially when other bands were playing so well. Your Sabbath, your Rainbow, your Dio, and people had amazing voices. Dio, Bruce Dickinson.
And just to think, me and you were raised on hippies.
Yeah.
So, like, my mom listened to a lot of hippie type music, you know. So I mean, definitely his mom too, you know, and his dad, and it was let me see, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, stuff like that.
Actually, I remember one of my first records that I paid attention to. My uncle was like, "Oh, you want to play drums? You need to listen to this." And he put All the World's a Stage by Rush on with the like 15 or 19 minute drum solo for Working Man, just this huge jam and bigger than life drum set that he just destroyed and owned. And it's a 3-piece band and it sounds bigger than anything. And it was live and it was recorded as an entire concert, not just clips and songs and no Pro Tools, no fixing. That's how they played. And it was fucking badass. That actually like drew me in. That pulled me away from your Led Zeppelins and your Jimi Hendrix, which was just kind of rock, and was like, holy shit, this is actually really something to pay attention to. Like, so music can be background music, like you're just hanging out, it's there, you don't really notice it. Music could be the center of your focus where you're drawn away from a conversation and looking at the speakers and somebody's like, hey, oh, sorry, I wasn't listening. Like that riff just like draws you in. So when music actually just grabs you and grabs your attention, that's amazing. That's something else. It's no longer background music. It's no longer just something to zone away from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was glad I got to see Rush live. That was definitely a great treat. I mean, the laser show alone was intense.
All right, judge me if you want, but I've seen the Grateful Dead probably 6 times. First 2 shows with my dad and a few other times with my friends. Again, I will watch any music live, even if I would not necessarily listen to it at home. But talk about an experience. You know, bands like the Grateful Dead and Pink Floyd, they could bring you to a different universe for a short period of time.
Yeah, I've seen Roger Waters live.
Yeah, they're definitely a huge influence on a lot of like modern metal bands too. Like the bands like you just mentioned, Grateful Dead, Pink Floyd, Rush. They're huge influences on the new wave of British heavy metal bands and stuff like that as well.
Definitely love Rush.
I think that's part of what all that like at a certain point in time. I don't feel like genres existed quite the way that they do. Like genres became a thing from us having to label everything, but at that we're calling it hippie rock or psychedelic or whatever. At a certain point in time, it was just rock and everyone was just doing their own thing, but also everybody would hear what somebody else is doing and they draw a little bit from that and try to like twist it their own. I mean, we still see it. Genres are at this point in time, labels are absolutely ridiculous, but there's a lot of crossover. A lot of people are borrowing from multiple styles instead of just living in one small world.
The whole genre definitely kind of exploded, I think, once you got past rock and punk. I think once a new wave of British heavy metal came out, like that's kind of when everyone started going, you know, crazy with the genre labeling. People are for label and putting like a title for every single different variation of genre, and some people just label things like rock, punk, metal. They don't want to really go beyond like the 3 or 4 milestone genres.
Moving around there.
Also, I'm terrible with names, but it's like a heavy metal, almost like an anthropology, almost like the history of heavy metal. It's the same guy that documented Iron Maiden on the Flight 666, but he did a great family tree style breakdown of how every I mean, almost very similar to what we're talking about here, going back to like your Deep Purples and then your Led Zeppelins and how everything kind of came to where it came. I mean, as far as labels go, I think he does a good job of identifying what the different genres are and how they combine together. He includes everything all the way up until grindcore, death metal. It's all there. Even as far as like how your power metal and your folk metal will kind of borrow from one direction, and your punk and your grindcore are borrowing from another direction. Like how everything links together, and I think the influences each genre had on itself and the next one, it's pretty cool. And I think he does a great job at documenting it. I wish I knew his name.
Are you talking from Metal: A Headbanger's Journey?
Yes. Great watch. Great documentary. Great watch all the way through.
Yeah, it is a really good documentary, actually. They even do like a lost episode on the extreme genres, and I think they cover like black metal and something else in it. But yeah, I'm getting the deep of that. They now have their own YouTube channel called Banger TV.
Yeah, we've seen that, honey.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That's wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, is there any other bands you want to kind of mention before we move on to the second topic tonight?
There is one band. It's been on the top of my freaking head all night before the stream. Thanks to the game Guitar Hero, whoever made it, props to you. There is a prog, they consider themselves prog rock, but I just call them rock and roll, with like a little bit more influences, but it's called Dream Theater.
Oh,
Dream Theater.
Oh. I thought it was
That was a good band. I think one of my all-time favorite songs is Pull Me Under, which is also funny because Guitar Hero, Dragon Force was introduced to me, so a lot of the metal bands I still listen to is from those games, which is funny.
Oh, yeah.
But that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. I don't know if I really took a turn per se here on this, but that I listened to before I got into metal were like kind of like your alt rock and grunge bands, stuff like Oasis and Nirvana and Sloan, and it's kind of like some of your English kind of rock alternative bands as well. I got into weird stuff like Weezer at one time, the band that sing pipe. Them right now. They got the Sweater song. I don't know. I don't really like that song, but Treble Charger was one I used to listen to back in high school. But the alternate rock and grunge stuff, it was also like I don't know if you consider like Alice, yeah, and Soundgarden were more considered grunge, so I listened to stuff like that. And then once I kind of got out of like the alt rock and grunge stuff to like kind of like punk rock kind of stuff, I think I was into Murphy, NoFX back in the day, and then a lot of my friends were listening to like Blink-182 and Green Day, so it kind of got that pop punk influence as well. Like Nimrod was huge back in high school for me. Like everyone was listening to, you know, and Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. So, yeah, so basically just like alt rock and grunge and punk was basically what I listened to before I got into metal. But I don't before I was listening to like metal from like a young age, like 6 and 7, because like my mom and my dad listened to semi-metal stuff as well. Like I don't know if you consider like Black Sabbath or Alice Cooper metal. I know they're kind of like leaning more towards like hard rock, and some people consider Sabbath like blues metal, but like they're mostly hard rock as well. I think they consider themselves a hard rock band.
I think the first band to want to be called heavy metal and to embrace heavy metal was Judas Priest, but I think some of the first heavy metal riffs written were for sure Black Sabbath. I mean, they started in that psychedelic realm where it was jazzy and bluesy and improv. They would jam. They would have stretch parts. But once they got into like Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is one of the heaviest riffs written of all time. I mean, there's no better metal riff. Into the Void. I mean, once they started getting into riffing and they started getting a little bit more heavier and darker, they still held on to that jazzy, bluesy feel. But I don't know. I would think that that's at the very beginning of heavy metal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sabbath are the quite a lot of different like offshoots in metal genres. Like they've got doom in there. They've got a little bit of like a punky influence too to some of the riffs. Like if you play some of the Sabbath riffs at like, you know, time and a half BPMs, they're punk songs. And After Forever, that's almost basically punk. It's pretty sweet. They inspire quite a lot of different genres. Like pretty much every metal band that isn't like black metal or death Sabbath in one way or another, or like your Sabbath clones like Pentagram or you know,
absolutely.
other kind of doom.
I would even say they spawned the whole southern rock, southern metal. Not quite Pantera necessarily, but there's quite a few bands that kind of have that groovy, bluesy, heavy, driving kind of tone and approach to writing, you know, straight off your heavier you know, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath records.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, like the only other things that I could really think of that I listened to before I got into it is once again just kind of my parents' influences. So like the Moody Blues or Tom Petty.
Yeah, absolutely. Our hippie parents.
Yeah, basically. All right.
Jethro Tull. I really love Jethro Tull, actually.
Yeah. So that's basically my kind of like influence and stardom where I kind of, you know, got into like thrash and new wave of British heavy metal and stuff like that, because I'm trying to remember as far back as I can where I got into metal like I think I got into like just with an Ozzy and Alice Cooper and Soundgarden and bands like that. I think I also started getting Megadeth, Metallica, early Anthrax, and then even the Bush era Anthrax, where it kind of blends like this groovy, grungy, nu metal-y version of thrash as well. So it definitely spiraled from there. I even owned the Snakebite Love Motorhead album at one point, but then I don't know. I just kind of fell out of interest with Lemmy's vocals. But yeah, topic to tonight for sure. So it's 9:15.
Yes.
Do we want to start talking some of our kind of Christmas themed metal albums or songs?
Well, I'm gonna start because I'm gonna tell you something. My favorite Christmas song ever is The Grinch That Stole Christmas. Okay, I'm a mean one, the Mrs. Grinch. I hate Christmas, bah humbug. But if I were to pick one metal album, it has to be No Presents for Christmas, King Diamond, of course. And I think my husband's gonna agree with that, except for maybe not the Grinch part, because for many years I've been the hugest Grinch. I'm the Grinch. I'm like obnoxiously Grinch, aren't I? Tell the public, tell it true. Am I obnoxiously Grinchous?
I think the closer your birthday is to Christmas, the less you like it because you feel ripped off.
I'm a mean one. Mrs. Grinch.
I have two guilty pleasures, and I don't have a lot to say about Christmas music. And truthfully, I'm pretty ignorant as far as metal Christmas is concerned. But always have kind of been able to listen to Trans-Siberian Orchestra as far as what they put into it and the musicianship. Not my favorite thing, but it's tolerable. A real guilty pleasure is A Twisted Christmas. Because who doesn't love Twisted Sister? And Dee Snider literally is playing Twisted Sister songs with the Christmas lyrics. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I saw a whole bunch of Twisted Sister like Christmas while I was doing my research for tonight's episode. Not really my thing, but I could definitely appreciate the Twisted on Christmas songs for sure.
I work in retail, so the Christmas songs are so burned in my brain to the point that I've tried to block them out for the sake of sanity. So even remakes or covers or any of that, it's not any better. It still reminds me of the same crap.
Right.
At least
he's
ridiculous with his approach.
Fair enough. Do you know any songs that are Christmas themed but aren't like metal version made Christmas songs?
No, I really don't. That I can think of. I mean, just the King Diamond, No Presents for Christmas.
Have you ever heard the Lacuna Coil Christmas song?
No.
No, definitely check out Naughty Christmas by Lacuna Coil. It's even got a guest feature by Jonathan Davis of Korn.
That's interesting.
Yeah, weird much. Yeah. I like I said, I'm a mean one, the Mrs. Grinch.
Good stuff. All right, well, Husk, do you have any Christmas songs or maybe some punk Christmas songs that comes to mind?
No, but totally not a Christmas themed song, but there is a song that I know from Trivium that's snow related for Christmas, basically. But the lyrics is not meant for Christmas. And it's called Silence in the Snow.
Silence in the Snow.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a horror movie title. That'd be sweet.
That's why I kind of use it, because I have to agree with Jessica on this. Personally, I don't think... I think the problem is when I got older, I just stopped caring about Christmas. Because,
yeah, fair enough, man.
Like I was saying, when you start getting older, you start realizing, man, I could go work for this stuff. And to be honest with you, I just... Unless I get tickets for a Cannibal Corpse concert or tickets to any death metal band coming to Florida, then that's my Christmas. But no.
Yeah, I hear you. Like, once again, if you've seen the giveaway video, I say I'm not Christian, I'm not Catholic, I'm not Jewish, I don't celebrate Christmas per se. I mean, my family, that being me, the wife, and the kids, celebrate, technically, but like we don't really have anything to do with like the Christian part of it or aspect. I'm atheist. I'm pretty sure the wife identifies as atheist as well. She doesn't believe in Jesus or God or anything. And adults, obviously, we don't believe in Santa Claus. Sorry to burst anyone's bubble who's watching, who still believes that a fat dude in a red outfit stats down your knee. That doesn't exist. But we still try to put on, like, as parents, our best, Christmas faces for the kids and tell them, oh yeah, Santa got your presents or whatever. But we kind of a time to be with your family and a time to be giving and generous, and try to be a little negative during this time of the year. But that's about it for Christmas festivities. Like I more celebrate the winter solstice, and like I said, I'm not pagan either, but like I kind of celebrate that a New Year is coming, the snow and all that kind of stuff is kind of cool. So yeah, but I did actually do some research for this part of the stream. I got quite a list here if anyone wants to check out some stuff. There's a song by Korn called Kidnap the Sandy Claus, which if you watch The Nightmare Before Christmas, you know that song. But Korn does a pretty sick and heavy version of that. Red and Metallica both do a version of Carol of the Bells, so that's kind of neat. The heavier version of Carol of the Bells out there. And then there's just some ridiculous stuff out there like Austrian Death Machine, Jingle Bells, ain't Austrian Death Machine, but it's got like Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of vocal clips in there here and there. It's just really silly stuff, but it's pretty entertaining. One that I didn't think I was going to enjoy, but it's actually not too bad, was Chris by Sonata Arctica. It's not bad. Kind of reminded me of like a male Nightwish. So that's, I think Jessica might know, would be Merry Metal Christmas by Doro.
Oh, hell yeah. I love Doro.
So yeah, you should move down. Another thing to check out if you want to listen to some metal Christmassy stuff is kind of humorous. Pissed by Motionless in White. The beginning of that song makes me fucking die laughing every time. The cool bells, Batman smells thing, but then they end it with, and the Joker fucked your mom, and then they go into like a heavier part. So I fucking die every time I hear that.
Oh yeah.
And one I just discovered tonight, Bomb by Psycho Stick. So what this is basically Rammstein doing a Christmas song. I don't know. It's weird hearing Psycho Stick trying to do a Rammstein impression, but it's actually pretty decent. So yeah, check out O Tannenbaum by Psycho Stick. Just tonight was Corey Taylor from Slipknot doing a song called X-Rated Christmas, or XM @ $, but yeah, it's supposed to be Xmas. But he's basically saying that he's going to get drunk for Christmas. Bah humbug to the season. So Jessica, you'd probably really enjoy it. But yeah, look up Corey Taylor Xmas.
I love anything bah and humbug during this time of year.
Yeah. And then another one was Ozzy's kind of Iron Man rendition of I Am Claus. So that was neat. And then there's two that's not really metal, but I kind of enjoy. It's called Happy Holidays, You Bastard by Blink-182. It's kind of amusing. You're in for a laugh. And then Hollywood Undead's Christmas in Hollywood. And like dirty lyrics, but it's entertaining to say the least. But yeah, that's my list.
Actually, I got another band. To like I said, I don't really like celebrating Christmas, to be honest with you, but it is something dealing with like ice and snow. There's a band called Elvis out there. If you guys listen to Rammstein and Megaheads and stuff like that, Elvis is a great band. The song is called Eisheit, which stands for in German Ice Age.
Nice.
Excellent. I like that. Definitely.
I'll definitely have to send the link of that song so you guys go check it out. Probably just send you the music video.
Hey man, do it up. I would definitely give her a shot.
They're actually a great band, actually. They just released an album last year. It's not their best, but I gotta re-listen to it again because I didn't give it really like 100% chance.
Oh yeah. Does Jessica and her husband have any other Christmas related songs that you can suggest?
No, you definitely did your homework on this one.
Yeah, you took the cake.
We're atheists, and Christmas is just one of the holidays that was taken over as a pagan holiday and forced into Christendom. Besides capitalism monetizing it holds zero value to me. I get to see some of my family I don't normally see. Otherwise, it's a pain in my ass all the way around my life. Always has been. Once I found out, and I found out young, I found the stash of presents. I didn't tell my mom I did, but once I found out, it was pretty downhill from there. Honestly,
it all started with Santa.
I remember in 4th grade switching from a public school to a Lutheran school, which is more relaxed than Catholic, but I grew up Lutheran and Catholic with both of those doctrines just being hypocrisies. In 4th grade, it meant nothing to me and was like, instead of following it like a sheep, I was questioning, why are we here? What are they trying to do? That pastor drives a really nice Cadillac. Wow, this is some great stained wood and stained glass windows. This is a shit ton of money coming into here. What do you mean you're giving this money to
Santa Claus?
To some hungry
They're
Africans.
giving it to Santa Claus. Don't be fooled. Santa needed all that money to buy those toys.
Mm. Funny thing I'm talking about. A Santa Claus thing. I don't know if you guys seen the post on my Facebook, but basically, the real Santa Claus is FedEx, USPS, and UPS.
Yeah.
It's a modern day Santa Claus. I will say something. You did mention something that something I do like, The Nightmare Before Christmas. I do like that movie.
Yeah, it's actually really good. Actually, you just brought up a perfectly good alternative topic for tonight. We've still got a half an hour left. Why don't we discuss our favorite themed horror movies?
Oh boy, I got that to do this shit.
Oh, are you talking about Christmas ones? What is that one with the Santa Claus and the head and the sack? Oh man, I can't remember that one. Something Santa. A Nightmare Before. No, not that. Not that one.
That kind of opened my eyes a little bit.
I'm trying to think of some scary some scary Santa horror movies that I've seen.
I know Silent Night. Silent Night.
What is it? Let me see. Yeah, it was Silent Night, Deadly Night. That's the one I'm thinking of. You're right.
Yeah.
I had to look it up. Yes, definitely. And then Anything related to Krampus?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Krampus is an excellent one.
Yeah, awesome. European stories.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although
Silent Night, Deadly Night.
you definitely want to get the Krampus from like a couple of years ago. You don't want to get one of these ones because there's like 2 or 3 different Krampus related movies, but they're just god awful. There's one called Mother Krampus. There's Krampus 2 something something. Yeah. You want to get the right one for sure.
Yeah, I'll make sure.
Another good Christmas kind of horror movie, the classic Black Christmas, and even the remake of Black Christmas was pretty good.
Another good one is something called Elves from 1989. That was a really good movie. It was a Christmas movie, Elves. Obviously, with the title Elves, you can kind of guess what's up with that.
Not bad. There was one that was recent called Better Watch Out. Did you ever see that one?
No, not yet. Never heard of that one. Mm-mm.
Yeah, Better Watch Out is kind of like this Christmas themed, like break and enter home invasion style horror movie.
Oh no, I haven't
But
seen that one.
Yeah, definitely check
No, I
it out.
haven't.
Pretty good.
Yep. Haven't seen nor hear about that one.
I'm just trying to think. I got probably a few up here. So there's this B movie level, maybe even C movie level, Christmas themed one called the Ginger Man. There's like 2 of them, I think. Ginger Dead Man 1 and 2, but they're like really, really bad movies.
It sounds corny.
There's another one too that's kind of level, but fuck. It takes place around Christmas, but it doesn't like have really anything to do with Christmas. I just can't remember the name of it right now.
And it's a horror movie?
One that's not a horror movie, but is Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, really? I never seen that. I've never watched it. I really haven't watched many Christmas movies.
What about the Home Alone series?
Yeah, I've
Macaulay
seen
Culkin.
Yeah, I've seen those. Definitely. Seen that. Let's see what other goofy Christmas movies I've seen. There's something called National Lampoon's Christmas. That shit's hilarious.
With Chevy Chase.
Yes. That fucking shit is
funny.
Classic. You can't get no un-PC than that. I just love that all those series from Chevy Chase, the National Lampoon, anything.
Fuck. I used to know so many that were like Christmas themed, but I just can't think of them right now. Friggin' turn off the camera and I bet you I'd think of them.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
What, Christmas horror films?
Or any film.
Yeah,
I was talking about the National Lampoon Christmas films because they're fucking hilarious.
I had to write a lot of them down because I looked it up myself. I found some interesting ones actually. My favorite one of all time is Gremlins.
What was it called?
Gremlins. There was a Christmas
Oh,
Gremlins they
yeah.
had.
Fuck yeah, it is one of the best Christmas movies. But go ahead.
I have another horror movie called Santa's Sleigh. I've actually found all of these. I only know one of the movies, but and we got Jack Frost. We got another one called Jack Frost 2: Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman, which actually that was pretty awesome. This one I actually laughed at for like 5 minutes writing this. Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys.
That's a Christmassy one.
Yeah, it had to be. It was on the thing. This one I did not know nothing about, and I really want to watch it now. Is Christmas with the Dead.
What is it?
Christmas with the Dead.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
This one, me, Jessica, and her husband are going to agree on. There's one called Dismembering Christmas.
I've never heard of that one.
That was a new one for me, and I can't believe I found this. This is actually a series from another movie. It's called Bikini Bloodbath Christmas.
Bikini Bloodbath Christmas sounds like a gushing good time.
Oh my god. Does that have anything to do with
Probably.
Slumber Party Massacre ones?
Probably.
Oh man,
I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it.
That's too funny. Actually, now thinking about it, Child's Play, the first one, that was a Christmas.
Oh yeah, it was. I actually hate fucking dolls.
Or Chucky.
There was one movie.
Chucky.
There was one movie I can't remember. It's probably a Jack Frost film too. I forgot what it was, but there was these oh, I can't remember the fucking scene. I guess there's this guy investigating these killings, and there's these human eating snowballs.
Never heard of that.
What the hell?
I'm legit telling you, that was supposedly a Christmas horror film, and I don't remember the fucking name of it.
That sounds insane.
Oh, yes, it does. I think the Christmas with the Dead's more crazier, and I think it is.
That's a good one out. That great, like zombies.
Yeah.
And Christmas time.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Is Red Snow? Or did that happen around Christmas?
Red Snow.
Yeah, the one with the zombie Nazis.
I think it does. Oh, hold on, let me look that up. I knew what you were talking about too. I've never seen that, but I really want to.
I've got. Oh no, I'm thinking of Dead Snow. Never mind. But I think actually Dead Snow 1 might be around Christmas.
I think Dead Snow is. Jeez, now you got me looking at this stuff now.
Yeah.
Actually, Dead Snow.
I'm looking too.
I'm actually going to read you this little title, or this little information. A party of 8 Norwegian medical students travel to a remote Arctic mountain for an Easter weekend filled with skiing and relaxation. Nothing interesting.
Okay.
But basically tells the remaining visitors that in the wanding days of World War II, a platoon of Nazi soldiers disappeared into the nearby woods after the residents turned on them.
Huh.
Somehow or another, I want to watch this. There's actually a thing called Dead Snow, Red versus Dead.
Yeah. Dead Snow 2, right?
Mm-hmm. I wish Netflix didn't take that fucking show off. I was actually going to watch that.
Mention Santa's sleigh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I thought I get it. It's probably pretty bad and probably pretty cheesy, but I definitely want to get it.
I'm sorry, if it has Santa and then like a picture of him being crazy, it's just that's the movie. But the Jack Frost is definitely horror films for Christmas.
They got one here that's called Red 2016. Looks interesting. Oh, there's one from this year called All the Creatures Were Stirring. We actually got a copy of that from mother-in-law, so I got to check that out soon.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the list of the movies I wrote down. And Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman actually seems like a badass song title right now.
Yeah. Yep, it does. There's one
Honestly,
called All Through the House, too.
Oh my god.
All Through the House sounds pretty badass.
You know what would be interesting to see if Rob Zombie actually made a Christmas horror film?
Oh, hilarious that you mentioned that, because before the stream started, the wife said it would be cool if Rob Zombie made a movie called The Night of a Thousand.
What? What was it called?
The Night of a Thousand Corpses. Like you know how they have House of a Thousand Corpses?
Oh my god.
But then do a Christmas version called The Night of a Thousand Corpses. So like the night before Christmas.
I think your wife is crazy as me.
I'd watch the hell out of that.
Going on to that topic now for a little bit. I overheard that Rob Zombie has this more psychotic and crazier now, and 3 from Hell. Big time.
Be pretty intense. So it'll be nice to see how Rob Zombie amps it up even more than Devil Rejects.
I'd still like to know what happened to those 3.
I don't know how he's going to explain how they survived getting shot a million times, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, won't be surprising.
There's
It'd be
also
weird.
really old. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, wouldn't that be a mind fuck if that was all a dream and that whole the Devil Rejects? That would just be fucked up. Talking about puzzling all the fans.
That would be a pretty easy to get of being actually shot. Maybe it was like a dream of Cutter, aka
Captain Spaulding.
Spaulding.
I gotta make a joke right now, and then people are gonna hate me for this joke. I don't know if Jessica and her husband are gonna like this one, but if Sid himself went as Captain Spaulding and did the elections for presidency, you probably gonna not hear from me for a while, because I will be voting for Captain Spaulding for president.
That's funny.
I mean, what could be worse? Whole world goes to shit? Well, I mean, it's going that way anyway, so.
Well, I hope not.
I mean, anything would be better than Kanye. They threatened that shit. And I was like, yeah, I will absolutely leave this country.
Dear Lord, no.
No, I just thought about it because there were shirts that I found that said Captain Spaulding for president. I was like, yes. Just wear this. Just wear this to people who just argue about presidency. Just wear that one shirt. Talking about changing the topic real fast.
Well, continuing on, there's actually one from 1972 called Silent Night, Bloody Night.
Oh, that actually sounds like a real nice horror film.
I just found one
so-
called Miracle on Elm Street. Obviously, it's a Freddy Krueger movie. Miracle on Elm Street by Wes Craven. So
Oh,
that
Yeah,
sounds
no, I
interesting,
definitely gotta
right?
watch
Yeah.
that.
It looks
No, I
funny.
definitely gotta watch that.
Yeah,
Damn
definitely.
it! They found out my secret favorite serial killer. Damn it!
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Gotta love Freddy Krueger.
I honestly wonder if they're gonna make like a Jason Christmas horror film, because that would actually be interesting.
Did
That
they
really
not?
would. I don't know if they did.
A Jason one where it happened around Christmas?
I don't know. I gotta look it up again now. I don't think it did.
Well, wasn't oh no, I guess it wasn't. I was gonna say wasn't Jason Takes Manhattan around Christmas time, but it's not. It's just kind of like a really kind of city scene at the end. Fuck.
All right, I got the title. The 13th Day of Christmas.
The 13 what?
It's always the
13th day.
12th day of Christmas. The 13th day of Christmas.
Oh,
Jason
no.
Christmas.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Are we throwing money in the hat to fund it?
Well, I mean, the Friday the 13th game got made by the fans funding it.
Hey,
Please don't
never
remind.
know.
Please don't remind me of the game, Jesse.
It's a good game.
I'm still trying to get my hands on it. Which, actually, interesting fact. Credit to the people behind Dead by Daylight. They have Freddy Krueger in the game. Don't know how they got the fucking rights to it, but
All right, is responding to the chat.
I was just wondering. I was like, man, what? He looks so puzzled right now.
Yeah, so if I look like a deer caught in headlights, it's probably because, once again, you guys are freezing my internet's garbage, or B, because I'm like head down trying to respond to the chat. Someone was messaging me about Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I was just saying, yeah, I have you on DVD, and the remake just called Silent Night. Was there now I'm thinking about it, was there a one of the Psycho series that took place during Christmas? Like with Norman Bates?
Maybe. I don't know.
But I found another one here. It's from 1980, and all the 80s horror movies are awesome, so it's probably pretty good. From 1945. It's a black and white one. I don't know if I'd be interested in that, but that's one to check out for sure. Eyes Wide Shut from 1999. Stanley Kubrick's Christmas Tree. Weird.
I wouldn't consider that horror. I'd consider that like a thriller, suspense movie, conspiracy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely want to get a copy of those Jack Frost ones, though, because they're pretty jokes. Like, they're obviously B-movie horror. I'm pretty sure there's a scene where somehow the evil snowman ends up, like, raping this chick in a bathtub. It's so weird. But,
Right.
definitely one to get for the horror collection.
He was talking about fans.
Hopefully that song title, that name title, Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman ain't taken as a song. Honestly, that would make it like a pretty good death metal song, to be honest with you.
True, for sure. There's one from 1996 called Santa Claus, like claws as in like.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Lord Husk,
Mm.
your dream came true. A bunch of fans started a Santa versus Jason. Right
Oh
here.
my God! Finally.
A bunch of fans.
I don't think that's a movie. I think that's
No,
like top things people would love to see.
it
So
says,
there's already support.
It says 12 Christmas horror movies we want to see. We'd like to see part 2, and Santa versus Jason is one of them.
Actually, that'd be an interesting horror movie right there.
Wow. Oh man, you know what that could be though? It could be the dude from Silent Night, Deadly Night as Santa versus Jason from Crystal Lake.
That would be funny.
Oh, that'd be a killer crossover.
That would be perfect.
That would be best.
Exactly. That would fit in perfect. See, you should write into that
yeah.
fan site.
I might track it down and be like, here's some ideas. Please make these fucking movies.
Absolutely.
Well, I did have an idea, but I highly doubt it'd make any sense to anybody.
Yeah, throw it in. What's up?
Well, you know me, Jesse. I'm a huge Alien fan, and I just realized I've downloaded a map pack for Alien vs. Predator 360 edition, and I realized, you never see Ridley Scott making a good Christmas horror thriller film with just straight up aliens killing people, like all of his other movies. You don't really see that, even though it's a sci-fi horror film. But actually, it'd be pretty fucking cool. What do you think?
A Ridley Scott Christmas horror movie?
Horror movie with just his mass production with the Alien franchise. You can't really see it, can you?
I don't know how they'd work Christmas into the Alien franchise, but I mean, it could sort of be like a Die Hard where things are down. It just happens to happen on Christmas.
Right. It's like the reason why I was asking says Alien vs. Predator 2 Requiem. That wasn't dealing in space. That was actually dealing on the planet Earth, and that's popped up in my mind. Is why don't he or another director, talk about it and then make something like that,
Right. Fair enough.
I mean, it'd be pretty interesting to watch how they do it too.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if you. Sorry, what?
Go ahead.
I don't know if you consider this a Christmas movie, horror film. I don't know for what reason. Any type of snow horror film is great. Oh my fucking God, I can't remember the movie name. It's dealing with like what is it, 30 Nights with like vampires and shit in it. Fuck, hold on. It's basically with the residents try to survive the horror of the vampire apocalypse. 30 Days at Night. That's what it's called.
He's the only person I know that has those movies.
No, 30 Days of Night. Basically, it takes place in Northern Hemisphere, Alaska.
I don't know if that's a Christmas related one, but 30 Days of Night, yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I mean, especially considering what Twilight made out of vampires. But as for vampire horror movies, 30 Days of Night definitely gets Christmas time or not. But yeah,
it was more in Alaska, but I kind of, like I said, snow and ice kind of reminds me of Christmas time, especially the snow part.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, guys. Well, it's pretty close to the end of the stream now. I think we've covered as many Christmassy horror movies. So I guess it's time to do the winter solstice metal giveaway draw. I've been keeping track of everyone's entries and whatever. I've been cutting up all the names and stuff. As you can see, got a bunch of them here. I'm going to put them in a hat and do my draw. So there's a hat. Yeah.
Here's a hat.
Mix them around.
Here we go.
Now, obviously, this isn't going to make it to the winner for Christmas. You'll probably get it sometime in Canada Post, but I will be mailing it out as soon as I can. So
thanks to the lovely Canada Post.
Yeah, thanks Canada Post, the Grinch, and saying fuck everyone's Christmas. All right, so I think the suspense is killing people enough, and as usual, I will pick a winner and a runner-up just in case the winner doesn't get to me within 24 hours. So here's the winner. Okay. It is. You are the winner of the giveaway.
Oh.
So you got
Graveyard.
You got 24 hours to contact me with your mailing information so I can get that out to you. So congrats to you, bud. I know you're kind of a more recent subscriber, so cheers to you for that, man. I appreciate supporting the rebellion. Kudos. All right, now for the runner-up.
Graveyard is up in
pretty sure got to do it anyways. It's the rules.
I think Graveyard's claiming it.
Oh yeah, he definitely will.
Graveyard's in the
here's
chat.
The,
says sweet.
All right, here's the runner-up. Runner-up for the giveaway, and if for whatever reason Hostile Graveyard can't get ours with his mail info, will go to you. So cheers for being the runner-up, man. Hopefully you will be able to win something in the next giveaway. But yeah. So just to clarify what's being given away in this giveaway, we have this lurid memory seal. The album's called Dematerializing. So we got some death metal in there, a couple of black metal, so esoteric formulae. It was kind of seen in the Metalhead box, released on Black Metal Market. We have a atmospheric kind of ambient black metal band from Quebec, right there. Neige et Noir. Sure. From Glenn Drover from Megadeth, King Diamond, and Eidolon, exclusive to the Metalhead box. And last but not least, a hard book digibook copy of Celtic Frost's second album, Into the Pandemonium. So cheers and congrats on Hostile Graveyard. So that's it for the stream. Hopefully everyone enjoyed and shared some excellent, before the metal kind of bands with you, kind of let you guys know where we were before genres. Thanks for the guest appearance from Jessica's husband album, by the way. Thank you to Jessica herself from My Life as a Death Metal Drummer's Wife. And you, of course, to my boy Lord from Husk's Evil Empire. Now, the next Sinister Sunday is going to be after Christmas. So if you celebrate Christmas or anything like that, I hope your holidays are, fun and filled with a bunch of headbanging, hopefully. We'll be talking about our favorite 2018 albums and probably a secondary topic for the second half. So looking forward to seeing y'all post-Christmas. Have a good one. for glory, for the rebellion, this Sinister Sunday is over.